Season number 5 of the San Francisco Giants franchise is here. As today, we'll get through spring training and the early portion of the regular season as we look to make it back into the playoff hunt and possibly go on a World Series run after losing in the NLCS to the Braves 2 years in a row. Last episode was the offseason, and we had a pretty clear goal in mind going into the offseason, and that's make a splash, particularly in terms of adding to the lineup. And unfortunately, we really were not very successful in doing so. That's not to say that we didn't make some productive moves in the offseason, but going into free agency, I had been targeting Ozzie Albies. I mentioned he's a guy who I've had on my radar really since probably like season 2. And with Albies tearing his ACL last year and the Braves trading for O'Neal Cruz, I figured he was going to hit the open market, and he would be the perfect fit for us. However, before he could hit the market, the Braves signed him to a 9-year extension. And that's not to mention, they signed Shane Bieber. They traded for Gunnar Henderson. They signed Teoscar Hernandez. They do have a lot of guys who are going to be free agents at the end of the year. So this could be the last hurrah for this Braves core, having to pay guys like Ronald Acuna, Gunnar Henderson, and O'Neal Cruz. Obviously, they're not going to be able to afford all three, but I also didn't think they'd be able to afford Gunnar Henderson or Shane Bieber this offseason to begin with. And now this team, who has beaten us twice in the NLCS over the last 2 years, it has made the World Series, has now become even better. So much so that Gunnar Henderson hits 8th against righties, and Teoscar Hernandez isn't even a full starter. As for the rotation, this unit is pretty darn good. Their number 5 starter, Michael King, won the Cy Young last year. That's how loaded they are, but you can make the argument they might not be the best team in the National League. I get that it feels like the Dodgers have unlimited money, but they've spent so much over the last few years. I figured they wouldn't make a big splash. Wrong. Adley Rutschman, coming off a career year, signed an 8-year deal for $40 million per season. They also added Willie Castro, a good utility infielder. Now, this Dodgers team really lacks depth. They don't have anybody in between a 79 or an 86 overall, but they have no shortage of star power. Again, like Atlanta, really only one weak link within the lineup. The rotation isn't as deep as the Braves, but they have a nasty trio at the top with Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Bobby Miller. So our two biggest competition and rivals, if you would, got a lot better this offseason, and I'm not sure we got better, at least substantially. Now again, we did make some good moves, but we also lost some pieces, including basically our entire coaching staff. Francisco Rodriguez has been our manager over the last few years, and he's done really well. I wanted to bring him back, but he ended up taking the same spot with the Cubs, another National League rival, who also added Brandon Marsh from the Phillies as well. So we ended up bringing back Sandy Alcantara to a 2-year deal with a mutual option for the second season, and we did the same here with Brendan Donovan, but it's a full team option. I wanted to keep both of these guys, but they both struggled in the playoffs last year, which is why I was hesitant to give them anything long-term. The biggest move we made was the addition of Leody Taveras in the outfield, and as I said, I wanted to make a splash in free agency, particularly with Ozzie Albies. Unfortunately, it could not happen, and there weren't many other great fits for us, so we settled for Taveras, who's still a really good player. OPS generally in the high 700s, WAR nearly at 5 over the last 2 seasons, Gold Glove level defense in center field, and he's a productive offensive player who's a switch hitter. We shuffled the deck in the bullpen a little bit, adding Joel Payamps from Milwaukee to a 1-year deal. He's been pretty solid over the course of the entire series. But otherwise, we didn't make any splashes, and we've got a lot of guys who are going to be free agents at the end of the year. So this roster could change quite a bit, and maybe it's the last hurrah with this core. Logan Webb's on the final year of his deal. Camilo Doval, we extended him pretty early in this series. His deal is up after this season. Jojo Romero's contract will be up. Ian Happ is expiring, and that's not to mention some other guys as well, including Daniel De Los Santos. Stone Garrett would have also been in that group, but we signed him to a 4-year extension in the offseason, so he'll be sticking around. Now let's take a look at the lineups and rotation for spring training. Now I do want to point out that this is the episode that I would show the international free agent class. I'm going to do that in the next episode instead. I wanted to have time last week to add the international free agents into the game, but I've spent a lot of time working on the draft class for the Broncos series, so I figured today we will make it up to the start of the minor league season. That way, those players will still be able to be put on their teams by the time the minor league season starts. I think the biggest storyline to watch out here for in the spring is who will be the number 5 starter, because we let Aaron Savale walk. He ended up going back to the Rays, and we really didn't sign a replacement. I guess Cole Irvin kind of, but one of those 5 guys in the rotation probably will be our number 5 starter this year. So let's see how the team does in spring training. Hopefully they do well, and most importantly, stay healthy. Well, unfortunately, we would not do the latter. Kyler Rodriguez, broken forearm. It's a 2 to 3 month injury, and he will be put on the 60-day IL. And it's unfortunate because he's had a pretty strong spring. 3 home runs and 39 at-bats, OPS above 830. Durability was the issue of Rodriguez when we drafted him back in season 1, but he's done a really good job of staying healthy. And he's been a positive, productive player for us over the last few seasons. And now he's going to be out probably until late May, early June. Spring training comes to an end. No other long-term injuries with the exception of K-Rod. As we go 19-11, second in the Cactus League, only behind Milwaukee. We finish ahead of the Dodgers, so that's pretty nice. Notable performers include Brendan Donovan, Munetaka Murakami, Ian Happ. Tommy Rogers played really well. I'm hoping for the third-year breakout from Rogers. A lot of the young guys here down the board didn't do so well. In terms of vets, I would have liked more out of J.P. Crawford and Stone Garrett, but obviously their roster spots are not really on the line. And then in terms of pitchers, I think the 2 best in terms of our competition for the number 5 starter would be Cole Irvin, who we signed in free agency as a veteran, and then Carson Whisenhunt, who started in 17 games last year. And I think we're going to roll with Whisenhunt. We have experience with him within this rotation already. He showed some flashes last year, especially early in the year, before he kind of struggled a little bit, went back down to the minors once everybody was healthy. So Cole Irvin's going to go down. Scott Rios is going to go down. I was really hoping Rios would get that last spot, but he had a rough spring and still has a ways to go, but he's only 21 years old. He's got time. Luis Toribio, this is a fun one. He ends up making the opening day roster. He hasn't done that yet in this series, despite getting little itty bits of playing time over the last 4 years with the injury to Kyler Rodriguez. He ends up getting that spot. I thought Edwin Arroyo had a good spring. I've been waiting for him to really break out. I thought it was going to be last year, but then he got injured. He had a good spring, and hopefully it's a sign of things to come for him. Heliot Ramos will be sent down. He might be a trade guy because the outfield is just so crowded. There's not really a spot for him, but he probably is a major league player. And with that, this will be the initial 26 that we open with to start the 2028 season. And as you'll notice, just like last year, with the International Series to start the year, we got to play against the Diamondbacks in Japan. And we'll be going back to Tokyo to face off against the Padres this time around. I wanted to look at the schedule, see when we get the Dodgers and the Braves. We've got the Dodgers twice here in August, interestingly. September is the only month that we don't see either LA or Atlanta. And we're certainly going to make it a point to play those matchups this year because we'll be competing with those teams for seeding. And if we all make the playoffs, we'll probably face off against one or hopefully both of them in October. So this is what the lineups will look like to start the year. We're going to roll with Tommy Rogers at the leadoff spot. I think this is the year that he really starts to put some things together. Otherwise, no major surprises within this group. And then against lefties, again, Tommy Rogers will hold the 1 spot. Behind him will be Jung-Hoo Lee. I think the X factor for this team this year could be Johnny Hackman. He's going to be more of a platoon guy. Might not play as much as he did last year with the addition of Leody Taveras. But I thought Hackman was pretty good as a rookie, and I'm hoping he continues to improve. As for the rotation, Logan Webb will keep his role as the ace, even though Sandy Alcantara and Kyle Harrison were probably a little bit better than him last year. Webb has held this title for a while, and he was really good in the postseason himself. And then the bullpen, no major changes. Camilo Doval, the closer, looking to redeem himself after letting up the walk-off home run in Game 6 of the NLCS to Austin Riley and the Braves. So let's get this show on the road for a second consecutive season. We will be starting the campaign in Tokyo, Japan. It's a homecoming for some of our guys. Munetaka Murakami, obviously the native of Japan, played for the Japanese World Baseball Classic team. Jung-Hoo Lee is not Japanese, but he was born in Japan, so it's a little bit of a reunion for him. And then, of course, the Padres a couple off seasons ago signed Roki Sasaki. He will pitch in the second game of this series. I think it would have been more fun for us to play against Sasaki, but I figured we got to play the opener here. It's the first game, not just of our season, but of the Major League season in its entirety. As here's a look at our projections going into the year. The one that pops out to me, 28 stolen bases for Tommy Rogers. I want to see him be more aggressive on the bases, and I think that stolen base number will go up if he's on base more, and by doing so, he's going to need to draw more walks. Those are both of the lineups, and here is Logan Webb. On the final year of his deal, he's been a stalwart with that team-friendly contract within the rotation, but this is the final year of his deal, and with him and Sandy Alcantara possibly free agents this year, Kyle Harrison next year, we're going to have some decisions to make in terms of the top of the rotation. As with 2 away, Manny Machado singles up the middle into center. Ian Happ getting the start at second base today, cannot make the play. And so the Padres get themselves a base runner, and that'll bring up the dynamic superstar, Fernando Tatis Jr. And this one is crushed into left. If it's fair, it's gone, and it is just barely fair into the trees. Nando with a first-inning home run, and the Padres get their season started off strong. They lead it 2-0. So Fernando Tatis Jr. gets the scoring started here for the 2028 Major League season. Padres ahead by a pair early. That one barely squeaked out. It was like the Jake Bates field goal last night, just edging the foul post. Pause. Ian Happ catches the liner, and that'll wrap up the rest of the first. Logan Webb lets up a pair of hits, including a 2-run blast to Fernando Tatis. So already some early run support here from Shane McClanahan, who, of course, the Padres acquired last year at the trade deadline and then promptly extended him before he could hit the open market. So McClanahan and Roki Sasaki will sit atop the Padres rotation for the very foreseeable future. McClanahan had a solid season last year, albeit banged up, missed around 9 or 10 starts of action. But in the 23 games he did pitch, he was quite good. Jung-Hoo Lee rips this one into the gap, and this one should go for extras. Jung-Hoo Lee now in his 5th big league season. He has been a stalwart for us towards the top of this lineup. His deal's going to be up soon after next year. So, again, we've got a lot of guys who are not going to be under contract after these next few seasons. As Munetaka Murakami hits this one into left. Got some carry at the track, at the wall. It's caught. I think this is a pretty hitter-friendly ballpark because that should not have been close to being a home run. So we'll see if both teams are really able to slug it. We've already seen 1 home run from San Diego. And if you remember the opener last year, I think the Giants had like 4 home runs through the first 2 innings or something off of Zach Gallen. Here's Jackson Merrill. Strikes out on the circle change. Good pitch by Webb, looking to really get his footing after a not-so-good first inning. Willie Adames swinging a miss on the fastball. Good pitch by Webb for out number 2. And that will bring up Will Brennan, playing in the outfield this year for San Diego. Count is even. Lines it to second. And Ian Happ drops it. Throw to first is in time. That'll end the inning. A close call there. A blatant drop by Ian Happ. And look, if you're going to drop the ball like that, well, I know a receiving core in Kansas City that you might fit with quite well. The Giants had some defensive issues last year, so it's not an encouraging start to see one early this year. Although Ian Happ will make up for his near error as he leads the bottom of the second off with a base hit into right. I think Ian Happ was our most consistent offensive player last year. We'll see if we can get another repeat season out of him. Keep in mind he is getting older and likely will continue to regress. Patrick Bailey getting the start with it being a lefty on the mound. And he grounds into a double play, 6-4-3. Bailey had a good season last year as a platoon option. We're hoping the dynamic between him and Blake Sable will continue to be as effective as it was a season ago. Johnny Hackman, 3-2, and he pops this one up. Worked the count, strong at bat. But this one will be caught, and the second-year pro out of the University of Michigan ends the inning. A good start here for McClanahan, 2 scoreless as we move into the third. Aggie Rosario leads it off for the Padres, and he goes down looking on the circle change. Another strikeout for Logan Webb. He's gotten a handful of punch-outs over the last couple of innings. Back to the top of the order. Tommy Edman. He goes down on the sinker. Logan Webb is not a strikeout guy, but the Padres are missing a lot of these pitches. That'll bring up Xander Bogaerts now. Full count, 2 away. Got him looking. Logan Webb retires the side. 5 punch-outs over the last 2 innings. As it remains 2-0, and Webb has not allowed a base runner since the home run back in the top of the first by Tatis. Bottom 3, J.P. Crawford goes down on the circle change. J.P. coming off, of course, his terrific postseason run a year ago. As that'll bring up the new kid on the block, Leody Taveras, who goes down on the fastball. Tavares has some postseason experience himself. He was on the 2023 World Series team. He was on the team in 2026 who made it far into the playoffs, made it to the World Series as Rogers flies out to right. Another 1-2-3 inning. Not a particularly good start here for the San Francisco offense as we move into the fourth. Machado to second. Ian Happ scoops it. Nice defensive play there. Again, totally making up for the blunder he had earlier in the game. 2 away now for Luis Campusano. Count is even, and this one is grounded to short. That is 10 consecutive retired batters from Logan Webb, who still has not let up a base runner since the homer by Tatis. He has really done a good job of settling into this game as we go bottom 4. Jung-Hoo Lee chases the high fastball. Nice pitch by McClanahan. That one was certainly out of the zone. Munetaka Murakami rips this one into the gap. This one will make its way to the wall, and it should go for a double. We're hoping for more consistency out of Murakami. If you remember, he hit under 200 for the first 3 months of the year. He was up and down in the postseason. We're hoping the contact can just be a little bit more steady. Ian Happ puts it on the ground. Bogaerts makes the play. And another scoreless frame for McClanahan. He is through 4. And it remains a 2-0 lead here for the Padres as we move into the 5th. Jackson Merrill leads things off. 6, 7, 8 hitters due up for San Diego. Count is even 2-2. He goes down on the outside fastball. Another filthy pitch by Logan Webb. That is strikeout number 6 on the afternoon for the ace of the staff. Willy Adames now 2-2. And he goes down on the slider. Strikeout number 7. Logan Webb has been unhittable over the last 4 innings. He is cruising. It's a shame he allowed the home run earlier, taking away what otherwise was a flawless pitching day. Johnny Hackman makes the play in left. 4 consecutive perfect innings and 13 consecutive retired batters for Logan Webb. But it might not matter given how poorly the offense has played. McClanahan's been just as good as he gets Johnny Hackman to go down on the high fastball. That'll bring up J.P. Crawford now with 2 away. This one is on the ground to Bogaerts, and he completely botches it. Throw to first is not in time. It's an E4. And San Francisco gets a base runner off of the poor defensive play by the veteran Xander Bogaerts. And they're going to look to capitalize. Leody Taveras singles into center. His first hit is a giant. And we've now got 2 runners on. A big opportunity for Tommy Rogers to look to make a play. And he puts it on the ground. That was the pitch to hit, too. A curveball somewhat down the middle. He excels at hitting inside breaking balls against left-handed pitching. That was his matchup. That was his pitch. And unfortunately, he does not make the play as we enter the 6th. Still 2-0. No scoring since the top of the 1st. Eggy Rosario goes down on the fastball. Logan Webb continues to be unhittable. It's a shame that our offense has wasted such a great pitching performance. Tommy Edman draws a walk, and that is the first Padre base runner since all the way back in the 1st inning. Xander Bogaerts is now up with 1 away, and this one is on the ground. Garrett with the scoop. Never tags first, gets the out at second, but Bogaerts is safe at first. If Stone Garrett had tagged the base, the inning would be over. I guess he just completely missed it. Now the inning stays alive, and Manny Machado will capitalize. Into right field, that one is gone. And the Padres lead 4-0. So San Diego gets 2 runs directly off of Stone Garrett misstepping at first base. I don't want to give Garrett too much slack because it was a hard defensive play to make. But a complete blunder to not tag first after he scoops the ball. And it ends up directly leading to 2 additional runs for the Padres as Webb gets out of the inning. That'll probably be it for his afternoon, and we go bottom 6. Offense with some work to do. That's a good start. Jung-Hoo Lee's 2nd hit of the game, a single into center field. So a leadoff base runner here for the Giants as they look to scratch and claw their way back into this game. That'll bring up Stone Garrett looking to make up for his defensive blunder, and that's one way to do it. A rocket into right. Tatis misplays it. Lee, rounding third, heads home. It's an RBI double for Stone Garrett, and San Francisco is finally on the board for the first time this year, as it is a 4-1 ball game, and Munetaka Murakami's going to cut into it even more. Blast off into center. That one is long gone. 467 feet for the big fella, and the lead is within 1. You can make the argument that we should be winning right now, but nonetheless, a great response from the offense to put ourselves right back into the game and knock out Shane McClanahan. Both pitchers are going to finish this day with pretty unexciting stats. Webb with 4 earned runs in 6 innings. McClanahan with 3 earned runs in 5 innings. But don't get it twisted. Both of these starting pitchers were terrific throughout the game. Emmett Sheehan will come out of the bullpen to replace him. He was busy last year, 153 innings, but he was widely successful with an ERA at 3.24 and a whip at 1.2. He'll start with Ian Happ. Count is even, 2-2. Up the middle, base hit. The middle of the order has been highly productive. Lee has 2 hits. Murakami has 2 hits. Happ has 2 hits. The bottom of the order, though, has really struggled. Patrick Bailey doubled up earlier. Looks like he will double up again. 4-6-3. Good work by the Padre infield to get 2. Full count now for Johnny Hackman. He's been uneventful today. Pops it up into the shallow infield. Bogart's under it. He will make the play. Feels like we could have gotten more in that inning, but it's also hard to complain. We got 3 with the RBI double by Garrett and the 2-run blast by Murakami, as it'll be John Schreiber out of the bullpen for the Giants. He was really good last year. We gave a lot of attention to Duvall, obviously, and Romero and De Los Santos as Jackson Merrill singles into center. But John Schreiber was just as good as all those guys, and he was also very effective in the playoffs. We ended up re-signing him to a 1-year deal, giving him a pay raise from last year. As Adames grounds into a double play. Nice throw at second by Ian Happ to help turn 2. Him and Crawford leading the way there as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Sheehan still in the game. Rogers checks his swing. Umpire says he went around. The year 3 breakout for Rogers is not off to a great start. He's 0 for 4 today. And it remains a 4-3 lead as we move into the 8th. The aforementioned Daniel De Los Santos will come into the game, his 3rd season with the Giants. Pretty solid in year 3. Terrific last year in year 4. And remember, we got him for scraps from the Padres as he faces off against his former team. And we start with Will Benson, who goes down on the fastball. A nice job there by De Los Santos. The name of his game is not allowing hits. One of the best hit rates in Major League Baseball. So it's fitting that Eggy Rosario gets a base hit. He didn't hit it very well, only 67 off the bat. Probably shouldn't have swung it there with it being a full count. But he's able to bloop it into center for a single. Tommy Edman goes down looking on the circle change. Good pitch by De Los Santos for the 2nd out of the 8th. We'll see if he can get out of the inning here, facing off against Xander Bogaerts. He has not had a great day, 0 for 3 with an error. And he puts it on the ground. Happ makes the play. He'll send it over to first. And a good inning for Aniel De Los Santos. But the offense has got to get something going. We scored the 3 runs in the 6th. But otherwise, it's been a quiet day for the Giants at the plate, trailing by 1. And it'll be the lefty, Alex Vesia, who comes into the game. Wasn't great last year, ERA at 5.7. But San Diego wanted to get a lefty in here with some of the lefties due up, including Jung-Hoo Lee, who lines out to first. Right place, right time, good catch by Rosario. Stone Garrett singles into right, his 2nd hit of the game. The 2, 3, 4, and 5 hitters all with multiple hits in this one for the Giants. The rest of the team has maybe 1, as Murakami whiffs on the fastball. That one was right down the middle. That was his pitch. Would have been his 2nd of the game. But he wasn't able to connect, and he swings and misses at the slider. Again, right down the middle. He was swinging for the fences both times, looking for home run number 2, and it doesn't happen. Ian Happ is swinging in the dirt. I don't know what he was waiting for. And Vesia gets out of the inning. It remains 4-3, and we move into the 9th. Joel Payamps makes his San Francisco Giant debut. He has spent the last handful of seasons with the Milwaukee Brewers. A season ago, he was pretty solid, 3.29 ERA, 1.31 whip. As with 2 away, the catcher, Luis Campusano, with a blast off into center. San Diego with some insurance as that one goes over the batter's eye. That ball was launched. 458 for Campusano, and it's 5-3. A 1-run deficit does not give them enough breathing room. A 2-run deficit puts them in a lot more comfortable of a spot. And a 3-run deficit might just about end it. Jackson Merrill into the trees and right. A 6-3 lead for San Diego as Campusano and Merrill go back-to-back. And now the Giants find themselves in a big hole that they've got to dig out of in the bottom of the 9th. So with that, Payamps will be taken out of the game. Not a particularly good Giants debut for him. He lets up 2 long balls, It doesn't even make it out of the inning. Jojo Romero will replace him. Had a really solid season last year as the setup man. ERA a smidge below 1.8 and his whip a hair below 1. As he faces off against Willy Adames, 1-2. Gets him swinging out of his shoes on the cutter. But a good inning for the Padres. Back-to-back home runs from Luis Campusano and Jackson Merrill. And we've got a lot of work to do. Down by 3 with Brock Burke coming into the game. Signed out of free agency from the Texas Rangers. He let up only 3 runs last year as their closer. 29 of 31 in save opportunities. As Pat Bailey leads things off, and he rips it up the middle. That one goes into the gap, and it should be extras. A good start to the inning for the Giants as Bailey makes his way over to second for a leadoff double, and that's all we got to do. Stack some base runners right now. We're down by 3. We don't need to be swinging for the fences. Just get guys on base. Don't need big hits, just need base hits or walks. Johnny Hackman hits it well into right. It is caught by Tatis. We're not going to tag the runner. Again, being down by 3, there's really not much of a point. It doesn't make much sense to be aggressive there with him as J.P. Crawford lines it into left. That is going to drop for a hit. It barely squeaks into left field. Now there's runners on the corners, and all of a sudden we're in business. Tying run is at the plate, and we're going to bring in Brendan Donovan to pinch hit for Leody Taveras. I don't love the lefty-on-lefty matchup, but Donovan's a really good clutch hitter. He wasn't in the playoffs, but I trust him here. 3-2, draws a walk. Good at bat. Tying run is aboard. Winning run is up. And it's Tommy Rogers back at the top of the order. He's 0 for 4 today, waiting for the big hit as he looks at that one for ball 2. Rogers needs to find himself ahead in the count, force the pitcher to throw a strike so he can get something he likes. 2-1 on the way here for Rogers with 1 away in a 3-run game. That one is inside, and it's 3-1. So now the dilemma is, do you give him something good? You can afford to walk him, afford to let the run in, because you don't want to give him a meatball. As Rogers drives it into left! That one is long gone! Tokyo Tommy walks it off for the Giants. A grand slam to win it in the bottom of the 9th inning and to start this season 1-0. The signature moment so far of Tommy Rogers' big league career to start our season 1-0. What a great at-bat from Tommy Rogers, and the reason why he got a great pitch there ahead 3-1 is because he was disciplined early. When the count was 1-1, he took a pitch low. 2-1, takes it inside. So with him being ahead in the count, Brock Burke feels like he has to throw a strike. And that's when Tommy Rogers excels, especially against left-handed pitching. When you give him something in the zone, he can take it out of the ballpark. As for Brock Burke, he only let up 3 earned runs all of last year. Here in Game 1, he lets up 4. Wow, what a way to start the year, a 7-6 final here in Tokyo, Japan, as the Giants start 1-0. Certainly unconventional fashion, but we will take this win any way we can get it. This has to be the first walk-off grand slam of the entire series, or at least one that we have played for. And it comes from Tommy Rogers, who looks to be the face of this team. And as I said, I'm hoping for the year 3 breakout. That's the type of play that can really give him some momentum for his career. As we look at the numbers, the Padres lived and died by the long ball. They only had 7 hits, but they went deep 4 times. They did not get enough base runners otherwise, though. I thought McClanahan was pretty good, and the bullpen did fairly well, too, minus, obviously, Brock Burke. As for the offense, the top of the order was quite productive. Multiple hits for Lee, Garrett, Murakami, and Happ. Tommy Rogers, obviously, with the walk-off grand slam. And then Logan Webb, I thought he pitched really well. The stats do not tell the full story. He looked awesome out there. And then the bullpen, other than Joel Payamps, was pretty good, too. I know it's one game. I don't want to overreact, but we had the best record in all of baseball. We have more wins than the other 29 teams combined. So that'll bring us to the second game here against San Diego. Sandy Alcantara against Roki Sasaki. And then we'll simulate to our regular schedule and our home opener against Arizona. As we lose 7-6, we out-hit them by a lot again. 16-8. Everybody got a base hit in this game who played. Brendan Donovan went deep. 3 hits for Happ, Garrett, and Crawford each. Sandy Alcantara was pretty solid. 5 innings, 4 runs allowed, 2 earned off of an error. by Brendan Donovan, which ended up partly being the difference. But it was really Fernando Molina who kind of blew this game for us into 6th. Solid start by Sasaki. Bullpen really wasn't great. They let up a 4-run rally in the 8th. But it's not enough, and we split the series in Tokyo against the Padres. And now that brings us to our regular schedule. We're going to switch the order of the rotation a little bit. This is supposed to be Kyle Harrison's scheduled start, and I want Kyle Harrison to pitch. But Logan Webb and Sandy Alcantara are now going to have a full week off, so I'd rather have those guys come next, jumping Mason Miller and Carson Whisenhunt in the rotation. So that way, Webb and Alcantara can pitch a little bit sooner, but we still get Kyle Harrison on the bump here today for the home opener and opening day across Major League Baseball. 28 out of 30 teams will be playing their first games of the year. We are one of the 2 teams who's obviously gotten their season started already, but it's still opening day for the fan base. First game at Oracle Park, first game back on American soil. As we once again look at our projections, and the game expects a 94-68 record. That would be worse than last year, but they do have us winning the division over the Dodgers, which is quite encouraging because that Dodgers team scares the hell out of me. Here's a look at both lineups, regular group for the Giants, as we take a look at Kyle Harrison, who has been terrific over the last 2 seasons. Now, last year in 2027, he missed a large chunk of the summer with an injury. The ERA is a little bit high, but I feel like the whip and the advanced metrics are more clear on the type of season he had. He was terrific a year ago as he faces off against Ketel Marte. Behind 1-2, swinging a miss on the slurve. Kyle Harrison gets through the top of the first pretty easily, retires the side as we take a look at Zach Gallen. And we faced off against Zach Gallen last year in the opener in Tokyo, and we rocked him. He didn't even make it out of, I think, the first inning. Gallen's hoping for a better performance, and he was pretty good last year, 3.2 ERA, 1.2 whip. Ian Happ gets a pitch he likes, but unfortunately it's just a ground out over to second. And Zach Gallen retires the side to get this one started. Scoreless going into the second. We'll see which offense can draw first blood. Could it be Corbin Carroll, lefty-on-lefty matchup here? Kyle Harrison looking for the win, and it looks like he'll get it. Liner over to Murakami. That one nearly hits him in the nuts, but he does a good job of quickly getting his glove over to make the play and also save his chances of having children in the future. Edmundo Sosa gets this one into right. First base runner of the game for either team. It's a single for Sosa, and he is aboard with 1 away. We'll see if the Diamondbacks can bring him in. Look to score as it's Jose Miranda who's up with 2 away. Ahead in the count 2-1. Runner goes for second. Goes to Crawford, and he'll just tag the runner. That works. If the runner was not stealing, that could have been a base hit because Crawford wouldn't have been charging towards second base. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. There for Arizona. As we go bottom 2, Munetaka Murakami played really well in both of the games in Tokyo. He strikes out on the fastball. That'll bring up Blake Sabol. Of course, he did not play in the first game in Tokyo as he hits this one high and deep into left. It's got some carry. At the track, at the wall, it's gone! First home run at Oracle of the year, it's Blake Sabol. 369 feet for his first of the year, and the Giants lead it 1-0 here in the bottom of the second. We talked about it a little bit in the last game, but the dynamic we have at catcher with Sabol and Barely is just so perfect. Now, both of those guys are going to need new deals soon, as is pretty much practically everybody on the roster. So, again, I don't know how much longer the duo is going to be able to stay intact, but for now, we're going to continue to roll with these guys as they continue to produce and get better. Stone Garrett goes down looking. 5.56 average in the 2 games in Tokyo for Garrett. As we move into the third, back to the top of the order. 2 away for Drew Jones. Count is even, and he sends this one into the gap. With Jones' speed, you've got to think he might be headed for 2. And the throw is a little bit offline from Leody Taveras. He had to get it out quick. But it's a 2-out double for Drew Jones. We'll see if Arizona can bring him in. As it's Taylor Walls who puts it on the ground. Murakami scoops it up. Quick throw to first in time. 3 scoreless for Kyle Harrison, picking up where he left off from the last couple of seasons. As that brings us to the bottom of the third. Only 1 hit so far for the offense. Another slow start at the plate. But that 1 hit is a home run. Leody Taveras bloops it into left for a single. Taveras has been pretty productive on offense. Again, it's a small sample size. We can't really be generalizing through 2+ games. but he looks pretty solid so far as Tommy Rogers belts it into left for a hit. And now San Francisco has 2 runners aboard here with 1 out, and some of the best players on this offense due up and a chance to really break open this ball game. It'll be Jung-Hoo Lee. He finds himself behind, though, in the count 1-2. And he goes down looking on the cutter. He thought that pitch was going to be outside, but it curves in. A great pitch and great placement by Zach Gallen. That was filthy. Big AB now for Ian Happ, but he puts it right on the ground. And that will wrap up the inning. 2-1. Both stranded for the Giants. Gallen's feeling good about himself as he's able to get out of the jam with arguably the 2 best players on this offense, Lee and Happ, the ones who ended up being out. That'll move us into the 4th. Corbin Carroll is up with 1 away. And this one is hit well into left center with Carroll's speed. You best believe he's thinking at least 2. Rounding second, heads to third, and he is safe. I think we got that ball in pretty quickly. Would have had a chance to get him out if we'd gotten a better throw from the cutoff man, Brendan Donovan. So now there's a runner 90 feet away from home. A pretty fast one at that for Edmundo Sosa, who had a base hit his last time up, but he swings way too early on the circle change. What was he doing? I mean, that wasn't even close. Looked like he swung before the pitch was thrown. Christoph Hornsworth draws a walk, though, and now there's runners on the corners. And Kyle Harrison's looking a little sloppier. Jose Miranda with a big at-bat. He already has left 1 runner on today, and it looks like he's going to leave 2 more. Lined right over to Jung-Hoo Lee. Doesn't have to move far to get to it. So San Francisco leaves 2 aboard in the bottom of the 3rd. Arizona returns to the favor. They leave 2 aboard in the top of the 4th. As we go to the bottom half of the frame, 2 away for Stone Garrett. He swings and misses at the cutter. Good pitch by Gallen, who continues his strong night. 4 innings of 1-run ball. And that'll move us into the 5th. Will this be the inning where Arizona adds some runs? Jordan Lawler is up. The Diamondbacks are hoping for a breakout year out of their former top 10 pick. It hasn't come yet, but he singles into left with 1 away. He as well is really fast. This Arizona team has so many good base runners. 2 away. Taylor Walls flown into left. Rogers will walk under it, and he will make the play. Doesn't have to move too far to get under it. 5 scoreless innings for Kyle Harrison as we go to the bottom half of the frame. Brendan Donovan. I don't know what he was waiting for. I get it was a little outside, but clear as day a strike. Punch out number 7 on the evening for Zach Gallen. And that'll bring up Leody Taveras with a full count, and he draws a walk. Taveras does not have great plate discipline or plate skills in general. That's something we've really looked for most of our acquisitions over the last few years. But again, otherwise, Taveras is a pretty complete player, which is why I was able to not care about the walks so much, or I guess the lack thereof, as Rogers flies out to right. I'll be honest, off the bat, I thought that one was gone. But then it died, and it died quick. Through 5, 1-0, another low-scoring start. We'll see if this is like the Padres game, actually both Padres games, that started off slow, and then the offense is really ramped up later in the game. Ketel Marte bloops it into center, in the air for a while, and it drops. He's going to make his way over to second. That ball was in the air so long that he turns it into a double. It kind of looked like Leody Taveras was running in quicksand there, and it's not like he is slow either. I guess we're just so used to Tommy Rogers roaming center field, but he should have hustled a little bit more. After the Carroll strikeout, Edmundo Sosa hits it into right. Jung-Hoo Lee misplays it. He wanted to go for a sharp angle to try to throw the runner out at home, but that completely backfires because instead of a single for Edmundo Sosa, it is a triple. Game is tied at 1. Sosa, the current go-ahead run, is now 90 away from home. We'll see if Christoph Hornsworth, an international free agent signing, can bring him in, and it looks like he will. Ground out to first. Garrett's going to tag the base, but the runner from third, Sosa, will score, and it's 2-1. That'll bring up Jose Miranda. The Diamondbacks trying out a bunch of different infielders, including guys like Miranda and Sosa, with the loss of Geraldo Perdomo in free agency, as the play is made there by the Giants to get out of the inning from Brendan Donovan. And it is now an Arizona lead, 2-1. The Diamondbacks get a pair there. Could be it for Kyle Harrison's night. and the Giants look to respond. Jun-Hoo Lee into the opposite field. He's going to turn this into a double, much like the hit that started the last inning. It wasn't hit well, but it was moving so slowly that he ends up at second base. Death, taxes, and opposite field base hits for Jun-Hoo Lee. It's a leadoff double. That'll bring up Ian Happ now. He's been quiet so far today, 0 for 2, but this one is lined into right center, and it'll drop. Jun-Hoo Lee is going to score without much issue, and this game is tied at 2. So again, much like the Padres game, when we allowed a couple runs towards the middle of the matchup, the offense claps back immediately. Blake Sabol homered back in the second, and he will put this one on the ground. Sabol is the most clutch hitter on the team, but that was not so clutch. Good inning, though, at least for the offense, with the RBI by Happ. As we move into the seventh, there will be a pitching change. Really strong outing from Kyle Harrison, even though it got away from him a little bit at the end. But he's still at a really good opener and will be replaced by Yaniel De Los Santos, who threw a scoreless inning in Game 1 of the Japan series against the Padres. He'll start things off with the catcher, Gabriel Moreno, and he goes down on the circle change. He was ahead of that one. A good pitch by De Los Santos to get things started. Back to the top of the order, 2 away. Drew Jones is up for the Diamondbacks. Count is even, 2-2. Swing and a miss on the slider in the dirt. Nice pitch by De Los Santos. He retires to the side, and we go to the bottom of the seventh. Out of the bullpen for Arizona will be Kyle Nelson, 3.86 ERA in 28 innings last year, wrapping up what was a solid night for Zach Gallen. 6 innings, 2 earned, identical to that of Kyle Harrison. So it's a bullpen game the rest of the way for both sides, as J.P. Crawford is up with 1 away, and this one will go into right field for a hit as it squeaks by the second baseman. And so Crawford finds himself aboard here as he gets the base hit off of the lefty. That'll bring up Leody Taveras. Now he's had a productive game with a base hit and a walk. But he goes down on the fastball. Nelson gets out of the inning. It remains 2-2 as we go into the 8th. Let's see if either team can look to score here, or if we could be looking at potentially extras. Jojo Romero out of the bullpen. He faced off against one batter in Game 1 of the series against the Padres. Ended up striking him out, so his K rate is currently at 100. Now it's not, unfortunately, but he'll look to get one here, and unfortunately does not. But it is a grounder to short. Down to the mix to play. 1-2-3 inning out of the bullpen for Jojo Romero as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Still knotted up at 2. Can the Giants offense look to open the door in this one and take the lead? Tommy Rogers was the hero in the first game, and it looks like he could be the hero again as he is the potential go-ahead run. Leadoff single into center field, and with Tommy Rogers on base, you best believe we're going to look to be aggressive and potentially steal. We'll start with Jun-Hoo Lee. Count is even, 1-1. Tommy Rogers will go, and he is very clearly safe. A great jump at first base by Rogers, his first stolen base, hopefully of many, this season. We're not going to have him steal third with nobody out. It wouldn't make sense to be that aggressive as Jun-Hoo Lee draws a walk, so I guess having Rogers steal really didn't end up mattering. He would have been able to make it to second anyway. 2-1. Nobody out. Ian Happ with a chance to give the Giants the lead, and it does not look like he will. Good at bat, though. It was a battle between him and Nelson. Gets a really good pitch here on the full count, but he bloops it up into foul territory for Jose Miranda to make the catch. From there, the Diamondbacks are going to make a pitching change. They will go with Brandon Hughes, who was not great last year, but I guess they want a fresh lefty in the game, even though Kyle Nelson pitched fairly well, other than the 2 base runners, as Murakami splits it between his legs for a base hit. Runner heads home. Rogers is safe at the plate. Jun-Hoo Lee is safe at third. An RBI single for Munetaka Murakami. And the Giants lead at 3-2. It's only 3 games, but Munetaka Murakami has been really good so far, as Hackman swings at a pitch he shouldn't have. Diamondbacks look to turn 2, and they do, keeping the run off the board. That was not the pitch, Johnny, but we'd still take the lead with the RBI single by Murakami, and now it is closing time. Camilo Doval looks to shut the door and give the Giants the win. It's his first appearance of the year, first save opportunity. He was 37 of 41 a year ago with an ERA barely above 2 and a whip below 1. The last time we saw him, he let up the go-ahead home run to advance to the World Series against Atlanta as he starts with a strikeout on Edmundo Sosa. One away for Christoph Hornsworth. He finds himself ahead 2-1. And he rips it up the middle for a base hit. So the tying run for Arizona is now aboard with the single by Christoph Hornsworth. We'll see if they'll be able to drive him in, as that brings up the number 7 hitter, Jose Miranda. Just as he can drive Hornsworth in, a ground ball could end the game, being that there's one out. And Miranda puts it on the ground. This could be 2. Crawford, Donovan flips it to first. Ball game! Giants win an exciting one, 3-2. And they win their first home game of the year, defeating Arizona and improving to a record of 2-1. This was a really fun game, back and forth towards the end. Munetaka Murakami drives in the game-winning run with the RBI single in the bottom of the 8th. Both starting pitchers looked quite solid. We had a really good first start out of Kyle Harrison, and Zach Gallen was pretty good too. Certainly not a perfect performance from the offense, but we did enough to get the job done, while the Diamondbacks, again, didn't hit it great, only 7 hits and only 1 walk. They didn't get enough guys on base. Gallen was pretty good. Bullpen really wasn't that bad. It's not like we hit the ball that well. The only guy who had multiple hits in this game was Tommy Rogers. Blake Sable, of course, homered back in the second, and Murakami drove in the game winner. But it was really the pitching who won us this game. Kyle Harrison was terrific. Bullpen was fantastic. I think the 3 relievers only let up 1 base runner. And with that, we'll simulate the rest of the series against Arizona. It is a 4-game set, keep in mind. So we'll see Webb and Alcantara make their second starts of the year, and we'll also get our first look at Mason Miller as well. So we ended up splitting the first 2 games. We lost the Logan Webb start. We won the Sandy Alcantara start. And now here in the Mason Miller start, we're up 5-0. Miller is pitching a 1-hitter, while Murakami has 2 home runs. He's looking for a third against Lucas Gilbreth, and he draws a 4-pitch walk. We got nothing on that at bat. Arizona did not want to throw to him. But sure enough, with the bases loaded, we hit a grand slam, Ian Happ, to win it 9-0. I feel like the bases loaded curse is finally starting to go away. It's been an issue since MLB the Show 23, but dating back to the middle and the end of last year, we have actually been pretty good with the bases loaded. And so far this year, the 2 times that they've been loaded, walk-off grand slam by Rogers, grand slam here by Ian Happ. So just some food for thought. We scored 8 of our 9 runs over the last couple of innings. Murakami, of course, homering twice. And then Mason Miller led up 2 base runners in a complete game. He was terrific. The game before that, we scored 10 runs. The offense has been really solid this year. And Sandy Alcantara had a nice start, 8 innings, allowing 2 earned runs. That puts us at 4-2 in a really competitive NL West with Arizona and the Rockies behind. But the Dodgers are 4-0. Who's surprised? And San Diego is 5-1. We're 4th in average. I'm honestly surprised we're not higher than that. It seems like the offense, albeit it's very early, is really clicking so far. And that'll wrap up today's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Next time around, we're going to get through a bulk of April, probably into the start of May, along with going over some of the international free agents. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Peace out.